Alright guys, time for another Patreon request, and this one comes from Christopher Rosa. And Rosa asked me one of their requests, and as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon where you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on Patreon. But other than that, let's get into it. And yeah, Christopher Rosa asked me to do a very interesting video, as you can see from the title, Heroes versus Cryptids. So this is basically like a bunch of cartoon heroes encountering different cryptids, rather than, it's kind of like a remake of something I've done before with Universal Monsters taking on the heroes, taking on like these types of heroes. So I thought so this is kind of fun of remixing it and doing it with instead cryptids. I thought that'd be it looks like a pretty fun, it sounds like a pretty fun idea. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So let's get started. And yeah. So first off, we gotta do one with Bigfoot, right? we really gotta focus on the big guy, right? So yeah. So the first one is about basically, this is Kim Possible versus Bigfoot. So in this story, Kim and Ron are dropped in the Sierra Nevada, Sierra woods, the Sierra Nevada woods. Basically, they've been tasked to find a group of hikers that have gone missing in like this part of the wood that, like, a lot of people, it's a hazard zone. Like, it's a straight up, like, you don't go there at all. Like, it is a no hike zone, but these dumbasses did it anyway. So they go in there and they are immediately beset by these like sounds and like knocking in the woods. And Ron's already like, yeah, it's a Bigfoot. It's gotta be Bigfoot. And Kim is like, Ron, shut up. There is no way it's a Bigfoot. Like, Bigfoot does not exist. Like, why do you have to, like, why do you say things like that? Like, why do you subscribe to that stuff? And Ron goes, we've encountered time travel, monsters, giant robots, and supervillains. Bigfoot could be a totally legit thing. And Kim's like, well, you got me there. And soon enough, they do find the hikers, or rather, what's left of them, because yeah, Bigfoot fucking murdered them all. And this leads to them encountering Bigfoot in a fight where Bigfoot's not really like antagonistic. It's more like it's just trying to protect its home, and it's doing everything in its power to stop them from coming into its homeland. So there is, so that's kind of that story, like kind of like an episode you'd see in Kim Possible, where she would encounter Bigfoot. Only the difference is that if this was a legit episode, basically, Kim and Ron would also deal with like DNA Me or Dr. Draken or something, and they would end up teaming up with Bigfoot or something, right? Anyway, so, so our next one is Danny Phantom versus the Wendigo. So in this one, Danny and his family are on a vacation in the far north. Like, they've gone to like the furthest, like a deep forest in Minnesota during the winter. Like, it's basically a winter getaway. And if you're wondering where this would be in the continuity of Danny Phantom, this would be somewhere post Phantom Planet. So they are aware that this is like, yeah, Danny is part ghost, he's Danny Phantom, and Danny's just like, he and Sam are just like, yeah, it's gonna be fun, you know, just a good old family vacation, on just 2 weeks out in the winter woods, and it'll all be fun. Unfortunately, that's not the case, because yeah, what follows is that they keep hearing strange sounds out in the night in the cabin. Like, they keep hearing like voices that sound very similar to people they know, and even like even Jazz goes out one night thinking she hears her mom calling her, until Maddie's like, hey, what are you doing out here? And she's like, that wasn't you calling you? It's like, what was calling me? And they immediately run inside, and basically it becomes like a slow burn horror. It's basically like how I kind of imagine this one is like a straight up slow burn horror, where the the team is like the Fentons the Fentons are basically beset upon the Wendigo as it's slowly stalking them and getting closer and closer to them with every passing minute. It's just like, I wanted this to be more like psychological horror, but when Danny, like, discovers it, and Sam's like, yeah, this is supposed to be a Wendigo, and you cannot, you have never fought anything like this because it just wants to eat, and he's like, what does it want to eat? And she's like, us. However, when the Wendigo battles Danny, it bites him, and is immediately like, bleh. So it has like a bad taste. Like, Danny has a bad taste to the Wendigo because he's part dead, and the Wendigo doesn't eat dead flesh. However, that doesn't keep it from wanting to eat Sam and his family. So Danny has to protect his family from a monster that is just pure nightmare fuel. As for another, we have Jake Long taking on the Mothman. So in here, Jake has essentially discovered that there's a monster trafficking group, and they've captured the Mothman. However, Mothman wasn't exactly all that excited to be here, and he's pretty pissed off. So Jake has to do battle with the Mothman that is now, like, broken free of its shackles and is now, like, on full-on, I'm going to fucking murder everything I see in my path. So there's that one. As for another, I was thinking, like, Randy Cunningham taking on, as a fun, like, bit of a cross between. In here, for this one, it would be Randy taking on the Kuchisake Ono, which is the Slitmouth woman, where Randy comes upon one night as he's walking home late at night after a long night of ninjaing, and what happens is he encounters the Kuchisake Ono, and Randy is like, he barely gets away from it when he discovers what it is, and now it's haunting him. Now it's like trying to get closer to him. It's trying to, like, reach out and trying to get at him again and again, and he's just trying his best to not, like, he's just trying to avoid it, and it's just something that he's not accustomed to fighting. He's just not accustomed to encountering such a demonic and evil being, so he's just trying his best to keep away from it. Anyway, as for others, there were a few others here and there, but really those were the major ones. I have thought about, like, maybe coming back to the... Excuse me. I have thought about coming back to this one at some point, probably because the idea is it's so expansive, because there's so many cryptids you could use and so many others. It's a lot more versatile than the Universal Monster one, where it's only you have a few monsters, so you can only use only so many. But here, there's, like, numbers of cryptids. So thank you, Christopher Rosa. I'll probably be reshopping this idea and using it in the future again. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what cryptid superhero, like, cartoon hero mashup would you want to see? And once again, I'd like to thank Christopher Rosa for this Patreon request, as well as their continued patronage. Other than that, as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys hit the 4th tier, and guys can start sending me video requests for me to do here on YouTube. But other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in Multiverse.